This is another radio that I actually bought brand new back in the, must have been either very early 90s or very late 80s, when I was working in Horsham at funny enough, a lawnmower repair centre and a garden centre called Hilliers Garden Centre. I was earning quite a reasonable wage actually in those days, and well, not reasonable, but it was pretty good for what I was doing. And I had a lot of spare cash. I was living at home at the time, and I was always into airband radio. And I thought I fancy buying myself a decent airband radio. So I went into the I think it's the Carfax in Horsham. It's the local shopping mall sort of thing. And I thought I had a look. There's just when they opened the Sony centres up. I don't know if people remember the Sony centres. They're probably still going. I don't know, to be honest with you. And I walked in there and had a look at this, and I saw this Sony Air 7. I thought, wow, that looks bloody spectacular. That really does look nice. So the Sony salesman demonstrated it to me, and I mean, obviously couldn't pick up anything in airband because it was inside a shopping mall, but it was picking up FM really well, and I loved the look of it. It was beautifully made, and it was typical Sony stuff of the era, really. And I said, yeah, so I bought it, and it was, I know, even then, it was £200, which was a lot of money. It was a hell of a lot of money, and I remember buying it and coming out of the shop when I was with someone else who I was working with. He said, what have you bought? I said, I bought a posh airband scanner, and he said, oh, how much was that? I said, £200. He said, £200? He couldn't believe it. Yes, it was £200, and it was, to be honest with you, it's another thing that I took back home. I did use, but I didn't use it an awful lot. I took it to, I think, a couple of Farnborough Air shows, and it was bulky and heavy, and I've got sort of smaller and less bulky airband radios after this one, and then this one was sort of left on the back burner. So this is the ICF 7, I think they called this. I don't know what the model number is exactly. I think it's the RCF 7, also known as the Airband 7 or the Air 7. It's a very straightforward radio. What I will point out, and a couple of the magazines pointed out, that it's really quite good on airband. Or should I say it was good on airband, but they changed the spacing to 8.33 kilohertz, and when this airband radio was announced, it was a 25 kilohertz, so obviously it does miss out some of the channels. It will pick them up if you've got a strong enough signal, but you tend to find that if you're off tune slightly, you're going to get distortion and things like that. So the front panel is typical Sonys of that age. It's sort of like, it's a little bit flamboyant, really, I suppose. Very easy to use. You've got the scan up, scan down options. You've got you can enter frequency directly, so you have to press direct 135375 execute, and that will type in the frequency. You've got a key protect button here to stop you doing anything when you're using it on your sort of like around your neck. And there, you can press key protect, and it will lock the keys. It's a keyboard lock, really. Pretty straightforward. You've got priority scan, so when it scans through the frequency, you can store a number of up to, I think it's 10 frequencies. So it will scan through those and look for an active channel. But it's also got a priority channel that it will default to. If it sees that one first, it will go to that one first. That's a delay in the scan, so when it scans through, it will stop. You give it a second, and it will carry on scanning again. Without the delay, it will just scan. It will stop. It will carry on if you don't press the delay button again. I think it is. It's a long time since I've used this, and it's a lovely radio. And actually, once you get the hang of using it, it's actually a very easy radio to use. It's also got FM, and it's got PSB. Now, it's not the Pet Shop Boys. There's nothing to do with the Pet Shop Boys. It's not a dedicated channel, so you can listen to West End Girls or whatever it was, and all the other ones. It's public service band, and that really was a waste of space, really, because I mean, I think it's a sort of a frequency that was never really populated very heavily anyway. Well, I'll show you that in a moment. But where this radio was very good, as I say, was airband. The aerial you see on at the moment is not the original aerial. The original Air 7 aerial, I've got it here. I've got it in the bloody workshop somewhere. I've used it, and I don't know where I put it. It's much longer. It's about twice the length of that, and it's really wobbly old thing. It's another sort of like helical aerial, or rubber duck as the Americans call it. And that's this aerial on here at the moment is actually off a Win 108, and a Win 108 is a dedicated airband radio, so this should be perfect really for airband reception. So on the front, or on the top should I say, we've got volume control, and you've got squelch control and selector band. You've got earphone plug here, and you've got external AM aerial, which you can connect up to any area you like really. That's pretty nice. And also you've got what I quite like about it is if you want to if you're carrying it around, I mean it doesn't make a lot of difference, like it's a bulky radio in the first place, but if you see these buttons you can actually push them down. That volume pushed down makes no difference at all, it just makes it sort of discreet really. But the squelch button, you push that down, it goes into auto squelch, and it sort of like selects a sort of like a midpoint squelch setting. So it's quite useful, you know, if you just sort of set up on a normal day, you're at an air show, you just press the auto squelch down, it will squelch out the background noise, but it will receive any signals in the sort of range of 15-20 miles or something like that. I should think it'll pretty break the squelch barrier. So let's turn it on, and we'll start on public service band, and we're at 144. So 144 is I think it's the amateur. Is it 2 centimeters? Someone will correct me on that. I'm sure it's 2 centimeter band, and then we can scan up on there, and it just, you can see it's doing a scan. It probably won't pick up much. A couple of sort of like maybe birdies or sort of dead carriers, but we're just searching through there. It was always I thought it was going to pick up something there. It was always a nice sort of radio to use, very straightforward to use. It's the sort of radio you could give to someone saying, this do this, do this, do that, and they could get the hang of it within sort of 15-20 minutes. And that was one of the nice things about it. Let's go to airband. So let's have a look, see if we can find some frequency we can pick up. So we close the squelch off. Let's try direct 1286. You don't have a decimal, it automatically puts a decimal place in, execute. Even that, it can't pick it up. There's nothing wrong with this radio, it's just the background. There's so much electrical noise in the workshop. Of course, I was in lockdown at the moment, there's no aircraft transmitting at the moment. The other problem with these radios is they'll only go to 136 megahertz, and the ATIS for Gatwick is 136.525, so the airband radio won't pick this up, you know, unfortunately. And of course the spacing is 25 kilohertz, as you see there. That's another limitation. So as an airband radio in today's sort of environment, it's pretty limited, pretty incapable of picking up a lot of stuff. Of course we've got FM that's still with us. There's Radio 4.
You know, we're a bit like magazines. We're working.
Okay, so Radio 4 works well. You can enter a frequency directly. So direct 98.8. That's Radio 1. That's Radio 1. And then you can store them by pressing, I think it's enter and 8. I can't even remember how to do it now. It's directly 98.8, execute, hold the enter down and press 8, hit a beep. So if you recall, it's a recall option somewhere. I think it's, I can't even remember how to, it just shows how long. Okay, there's the recall. So 8 should be Radio 1 again. Pretty straightforward. I say that, I can't operate it. It's been a long time since I've used this radio. AM works fairly well actually. I don't think it, I seem to remember it doesn't go to 198 kilohertz. So I don't think it does long wave. Let's try directly 198. Oh, standard corrected, it does.
Before we get on to what you've done, I think it's fair to say
so Radio 4 on long wave, so it's got built-in ferrite, which is quite nice. So it's actually a fairly usable long wave radio. And I have actually taken this away with me on holiday when I wanted a radio that was fairly slimline, but it's got reasonably good performance, and I could listen to airband. I used to take this radio away because the advantage with this radio, of course, is it's got airband, it's got FM, it's got AM, so it's sort of like a generalised good all-round radio, really. And these are the program options, so I think you can recall the programs from here. I can't remember exactly how all this thing works, but it's just one of the radios that I do particularly like. It's one of my, I like all my radios, I know, but this is one of the nicer radios, better build quality. They are prone to electrolytic capacitor failure, but this one's got.
The universe, I'm a great believer in the power power of the
pretty good
universe.
volume strength still, so I'm not too worried about that. But it does get very little use, and it lives in a fairly stable temperature environment, so the capacitors are probably in pretty good condition. On the back here, let me just, on the side here, I can quickly show you. It's got a light button here that's, you have to hold it down to keep the light on. It's just an LED that gives you a bit of illumination on the back display. It's very dim. I think if even if I press it, you won't even see the, no, you can't even see it. It's so dim, but trust me, it does work. When it's really dark, very low emission LEDs. They were always like that. They haven't deteriorated or anything. 6-volt centre negative, as with all the Sony stuff. Why they went 6-volt negative, centre negative, I have no idea. And on the back here, this is the battery compartment. And the battery slide in here. It's straightforward enough. And then it's on like a carrier. That carrier just slides out, and you just put the new batteries in there. And in here, we've got a selector switch here for 9 or 10 kilohertz spacing, depending on you're in the UK or Europe. And that's just the tuning steps between channels on AM. So, yeah, pretty straightforward radio, really. And I like it. It's a nice radio. It's beautifully made. It's solidly built inside. It's solidly built outside. And another one of those nice radios that it's got a bit of a soft spot with me. It's probably one of the radios I'll keep. Anyway, I hope that was of some interest again. That's COVID lockdown video number 3. And stay safe, everyone. And if you're all alive, more to come.